Great. Welcome, Beth Anne, to our community. It's lovely to have you here, to see your face, even though it's virtual, and to have you in our spaces. I had the privilege of meeting you before, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about your history and your connection to Emmanuel to get us started.
For sure. So actually my history to Emmanuel, the earliest connection I have to Emmanuel is that my great uncle was an ordained United Church minister. And so he attended Emmanuel back in, I want to say maybe the late 50s, early 60s. I did find his photo on the wall at one point when I first came to Emmanuel, but it was so neat for me to see that because my mom was raised in the United Church. I wasn't. I was raised in an evangelical denomination. And so it just in some ways feels like coming back around home to realize that I had those roots and that my grandma was very involved in the United Church and her brother went to Emmanuel years and years ago. So that was kind of a neat little piece for me. And I started my PhD at Emmanuel in the fall of 2017. So I did 4 years of PhD, and then I took a leave of absence this past year. So in the spring, summer, I decided that I needed to take a break. I'd done 4 years of my PhD. I am a PhD candidate, which means I'm currently working on writing my thesis. And I just really hit a wall, kind of mid-pandemic. And so I took a year off. And then this role came up and I applied and here I am. So I'm really excited that I get to take on a different role within a space that I already love and that I know a bit about the systems and I know some of the students has been really great for me to feel like it's been fairly easy to just dive right in.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's must be pretty cool seeing one of your relatives on a photo in the school. Because you had the privilege of being there a little bit in your induction, I would guess with meetings with people. So you touched on it a little, but maybe you can tell us what excites you most about this position.
Yeah, well, this is like kind of in some ways my dream job. This is the work that I love to do. What brought me into my PhD is my interest in, I want to say, the spiritual and the psycho-spiritual formation of leaders within faith communities and in spiritual communities. So I'm really interested in the integration of the psychological and social and spiritual. So what really excites me about Emmanuel and getting to be in this role is that we have such a diverse student body and it's an interfaith space, which I really love to be in. I've really learned so much from being a part of the interfaith community at Emmanuel. And I'm really excited to get to offer my own experiences and my own kind of growing expertise to support students and to support you folks who are here to develop as leaders and to learn academically, but also to experience the kind of spiritual formation and transformation that's a part of this context. So getting to support you and not having to provide grades is super fantastic. Because I know when I was TAing as a part of my research fellowship in the first 4 years of the PhD, there's some of the courses at Emmanuel where grading can be really tricky. And so in this role, I get to provide that support and get to be involved in leadership with the people who are, the students who are leading in our spiritual gatherings. And I don't have to do any grading. I don't mind the grading, I should say. I don't mind the grading. It's the assignment of grades that gets tricky. The grading and providing feedback feels different to me.
I hear you. I've never done anything like that, and I think it would be very overwhelming. So, this sounds like a great role for you then. Really fitting into what you'd like to do, and we are lucky to have you. That this is like your dream job because it means you doing what we need will be fulfilling for you, which is really great.
That is the ideal and the hope. So yeah, I'm happy to be here while Sam is on mat leave and get to just, yeah, kind of carry on what she's been doing and what's been established. And yeah, it's pretty exciting for me too.
So maybe you can, like, I share your disappointment in us not being together for this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can say what has been really hard for you about the pandemic, and then a silver lining that came out of it for you.
Yeah, that's those both exist. The hard parts and the silver linings. I think one of the things that has been hard is, well, in part for me, the timing of it. And I think for all of us, we were all in the midst of life when it came upon us. And that means so many different things for different people. And for me, I was just at the end of my marriage, and I was 6 months into separation, moving towards divorce. And so to have that, and then all of a sudden to have my social connections really change, and to have felt like I was on the tail end of something that had been really exhausting, and looking forward to a space of like, not respite, but like just something a bit easier. And then all of a sudden to head into something that was hard, really, I think, really made me exhausted. And I think a lot of us probably have experienced that, whatever thing we thought we were just at the tail end of, or whatever thing we thought, oh, this is going to be really manageable, all of a sudden was dragged out or kind of compounded by anxiety and isolation, or worrying about loved ones. So I think that's definitely been something that has been hard, and making major life transitions in the midst of, when I was moving. I know that I have a community that would help me move in a heartbeat, but in the midst of a pandemic, trying to figure out how to ask for help, but also how to not jeopardize others' safety, that kind of thing. So I'd say that's probably been the extra layer, or what I felt very aware of during the pandemic. And the silver lining, other than wearing, track pants every day and not having to worry about it because nobody sees below here anyway. I think one of the silver linings for me has actually been being close to my family. So I moved back to my hometown. I live in Guelph, so not too far from Toronto. And I moved back in before the pandemic, but being here, I have 3 siblings and my parents are also here. And being here and being around them over the last while and has been really refreshing, and seeing how we've navigated and how we've connected. I really feel like I'm coming into adult friendships with my siblings and my parents for the first time. And that's been something that might have still happened, but would have unfolded differently, I think.
That sounds like a really good support for you coming out of a divorce, and being amongst siblings and family, and even in the same town. So
Mm-hmm.
to hold you during that
Mm-hmm.
time. And I just because I know what is on your lap, maybe you can share with us.
Sure. Yeah, so I know it's very common, I don't know, at least I would think, to have a blanket on your lap or something in a Zoom call. So I have a blanket, and then I also have a puppy. This is Sammy. He hates cameras, so he probably won't look at the screen. But he's a Shih Tzu. As you can tell, he's napping. And he loves to sit on my lap while I'm at the computer. It's like, so he'll just sit here basically for as long as I am at the computer, which is not just warming on these cold winter days, but also just really comforting to have a cozy little buddy here. So yeah, I adopted him at the start of 2019. So it's been I guess that's 3 years now that I've had him. And I got him because I wanted a lap dog to sit with me while I was, reading and writing for my thesis. And turns out that's exactly what I got. So it's been great.
Wow, that's perfect timing, because I know how instrumental and fundamental my cat was for me during the pandemic.
Yes.
And that's just perfect timing for you in having that dog.
Yeah, because when there's, especially early on when it was like 6 weeks with no really physical contact with anyone, I can't imagine getting through that without having at least some warm little friendly buddy to talk to in the silence of my condo at the time.
And the cuddles.
And the cuddles, yes. Although for a small dog, he has an incredible ability to take up my entire bed. So like I will go to bed at night and he'll be sleeping in his dog bed, and I will wake up in the middle of the night and he's somehow in the middle of my bed and I'm like wrapped around him. I don't know how he does it. He's not even 20 pounds and he takes up the whole bed. So
he turns you into his blanket.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, pets are adorable, and it's so wonderful that he could be there on your lap. Maybe we can talk about something else that's comforting. And what do you enjoy eating? What is your favorite meal?
Favorite foods. Okay. Generally speaking, favorite foods are gelato and pizza. I'm not Italian, but those are for sure my favorite foods. In Guelph, we don't have any like dedicated gelato places. So I've been thinking that should be my backup career. If spiritual care and academia don't work out, I might open a gelato place here in Guelph, because I really feel like we should have that. So generally speaking, those are my favorite. Neither of those are really conducive to like eating while on Zoom calls, which I find is something that really helps me keep focused. I definitely am like a snacker. So for that, I usually go with plain chocolate chips if I'm out of anything else, or gummy candies. And then I have a dehydrator. I got this dehydrator a year or two ago. And so I've like dried a bunch of fruits, and I find that really handy because it's not like messy the way it is if you're like eating berries or orange or whatever, but it still gives me that kind of like, so.
You don't have to deal with the juices of the strawberry.
Yeah. And I am guaranteed I'll spill it on myself if it's like remotely messy, so.
And have you dried strawberries?
I have. They're so delicious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've done strawberries, blueberries, peaches, nectarines, apples. And then I did like a fruit leather. So it was like a puree of strawberries and peaches and I forget what else. So also really delicious. Yeah. I haven't done really like the savory things, or like you can do meat, I guess, but I'm not really a jerky person. So for me, it's mostly just fruit.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought of dried strawberries. Should try that. So what would you say is, if you can distinguish what 2021 is out of this pandemic that we're living in, what would you say is your highlight?
Okay, highlights of 2021. I spent New Year's Eve with a friend, and she asked me the same question. And so I feel like I got to prep ahead of time for this one. A couple of things. One is getting my own place. So I now live in my own home, my own space. And this is the first time in my adult life, I'm in my late 30s. This is the first time in my adult life I've had a place with no plans to have a roommate, or no like assumption that I'm going to be living with someone else. And it turns out it's been really nice. I don't think I could have done it a few years ago. I don't think I had the kind of, I don't know, I wasn't ready for it, but I am now, and I really love it. And I'm so thankful that I have my own space. So that's been a highlight, was getting this place. And the other highlight is probably just, I don't know if this will sound strange, it probably will, but feeling like an adult. I think I was chatting with a friend in December, because my birthday is right at the start of January, so I just had my birthday, and I turned 37. And I was saying to a friend, I feel like at 37, I'm finally feeling the way I thought I would at like 27. And so I just feel like I'm finally getting to a place of feeling at rest with myself. And I don't know if that's an accomplishment, but that's something that stands out for me in 2021, is getting to a point of feeling like I trust myself and I mostly really like myself. And that feels really, really good. Yeah.
I think that there's like a peace and a settledness that comes with that, which it's not an accomplishment, but it's definitely, life is different because of that.
It's a marker of something. Yeah. And then of course, getting this job is a highlight of 2021, because I started at the start of December. So that's a 2021 highlight, which will, I'm sure, feed into the 2022 highlights too.
No, the fact that you live on your own means that you can probably blast music a little louder and not have to care about people. So who would you be dancing to, and who would your pop musician be?
Oh man. A year or two ago, I don't remember how I stumbled across them, but I found some European female pop artists that I really like, that in my head kind of go together. I don't know if they actually do, but there's Tove Sturka, and someone called, oh no, I'm gonna forget her name now. I forget, there's another one, but I really enjoy it. And I feel like it's not quite the like American pop, like it's slightly different than American pop, but I find it really like fun. And then someone else I put in there because I feel like it's similar, maybe it's called like lo-fi type thing, but the other one I put in there is an artist named Sylvan Esso, who I really enjoy. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to look those up because I don't know any of them.
And of course Lizzo.
Of course Lizzo, yes.
Liz, you know, the classics. But yeah, no, I'll Sylvan Esso has an album from a year or two ago that I really like. And of course, I can't think of any of the names right now, but yeah, Sylvan Esso and Tove, Tove. If you start typing that in, the two that pop up are Tove Lo and Tove Sturk. So they're really fun pop. Yeah.
Cool, I'll have a look for those. So because we're in a Zoom world, what would we not be able to guess or know about you now that we would have if we saw you in person?
I'm tall. I'm about 5'10". I'm just shy of 5'10". And that's something that has surprised people who meet me in person for the first time, or who have seen me and then meet me in person. It's probably the main thing, is like, yeah, I'm pretty tall.
We are actually the same height.
Oh, really?
We are. See, I always say I'm the tall of the short people and the short of the tall people.
As a woman, I feel like I'm like tall, and I sometimes forget that. So when I get to hang out with other tall folks, I have a couple of friends who are 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". I'm like, oh yeah, we're all the same height. Then I have one friend who's literally 4'9", and she's such a precious soul, but I just feel like, I'm like, wow, we are different sizes. I'm aware of the time. Do we want to open it up and let anyone else ask me questions who wants to ask me questions? Also, shout out to the 5'5" and under gang. Yeah.
I like to joke that the under 5 gang, you know, what we lack in height, we make up with in plenty of spunk.
Yeah, I have some shorter friends who we joke about how they give out tall girl energy. And I think that that's actually like, I think it's typically smaller people who give out tall girl energy, because all the tall girls are like out here trying to make ourselves look like not quite as tall. At least that's what I did for most of my adolescence. So yeah, I find that smaller people, shorter people often still have like tall people energy.
We don't stand out because of our height, so we make our personalities make us stand out.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, small dog, big bark. Yeah, same thing. Sammy's the same way. Yeah, catches me off guard when he barks. I've had him for 3 years and I still jump every time. I'm like, ah. So
Yeah, I think if we could do like one or so questions and then we let you go a little before so you can breathe a little before you have to head into your next meeting.
thanks, JJ. Yeah, anyone have questions they want to throw at me while we're here?
I'll ask a question. Just what would be your like ideal conversation with someone, you know, like as a friend? What would be like the setting, the topic, you know?
Oh, that's a great question. I am in the wintertime. I'm thinking wintertime because that's where we are. I would say curled up on a couch, you know, both of us sitting on a couch. We each have our own blanket. We each have a hot drink. That's the ideal for me in terms of setting. And then conversation topics. I think I just like to talk about real life. Like, what are the things that you're thinking about? What are the things that are happening? What's been good for you? What's been hard for you? Yeah, I'm not a good small talk person. I can ask maybe 2 or 3 questions and then I'm like, cool. So I cried yesterday or whatever it is, you know? So yeah, I definitely just like talking about real life.
Beth Anne, it was really lovely hanging out with you today and getting to know you a little better. Yeah, we are very blessed to have you and look forward to working with you and spending time with you and seeing you in person and having some events with you. Yeah, welcome to Emmanuel, and thank you for who you are for us.
Thank you, JJ. It means a lot. Do we have time for me to ask one quick question? So JJ and I have, when we talked last month and we're lamenting that we're still online, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about and would love to hear from you either now or later is like, what do you need or want from me while we're still online? Because I know that my role is so much about caring for the community and helping to, you know, help the community connect with each other. And so I don't want to just make people's lives busier or inundate people with more, you know, content, but I'd love to hear from you as students. What would be helpful, or like, what is something that you're like, oh, this would be a great thing? So if you
would you be able to pop your email in the
I'll pop it in the chat.
People can email you.
Yeah, so send me a note anytime. Oh, I accidentally just sent that direct instead of to everyone. So send me a note, send me an email anytime. My email is super easy. It's elizabeth.fisher@utoronto.ca. Yeah. Thanks, folks. I'm looking forward to seeing you in other Zoom calls and hopefully before too long in the office. I'll be in the office when we open up again. I'll be in that front office and around the halls. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you
So much. This is a great